Facepalm America. I'm Beowulf Rockland. FacepalmAmerica.com is where you can find more information about the show, listen to past episodes, and connect with us on social media. As always, you can give us a call at 202-656-6271 if you would like to send us a message or call into the show. I pick up the phone sometimes. And if I don't, you can leave a message and we'll arrange a time for you to be on, if that's what you like to do. I know a lot of people these days don't like to do that. It's such a siloed world. I miss the days where you could just have a call-in show. It's kind of not how podcasts work. But I'm going to continue to give it a shot, regardless. Have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon yet? If so, you may still be watching it. That is a long, long movie. I don't see, 2003, I think, when I saw the Lord of the Rings Return of the King was probably the longest movie that I saw before this. I think this may even be longer. I'm going to have to look it up for sure. It was pretty dang long. Now that in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. I loved Return of the King. I watch it periodically. Even the director's cut I watch periodically, which is even longer than the theatrical release. But Killers of the Flower Moon, as good as some parts of it were, had some issues. And it should not have been that long, Martin Scorsese. And, I also saw The Irishman a couple of years back. That also did not need to be 3 hours long. I mean, somebody needs to tell Martin Scorsese to cut back, to trim the hedges, to prune his orchard. It's too much. And again, I am not in principle against long movies. There are a lot of movies that I like that are very long, and I can deal with that. But you're making your movies too long, Martin Scorsese. And Killers of the Flower Moon was one of these. Now, there were some amazing Oscar-worthy performances in the movie. Robert De Niro played a more evil villain than I think I have ever seen him play in his career. And he did it convincingly and incredibly. Leonardo DiCaprio was very good. Lily Gladstone was excellent in her role. And there were some excellent small roles in the supporting cast. Especially John Lithgow and Brendan Fraser. Those were the ones that I recognized. There were also a lot of other excellent performances in the supporting cast. Those are just the ones that I recognized. But there were other faults. Okay, so the first hour of the film, to my mind, could have been cut down to 15, 20 minutes. It was too slow in getting started. And while the middle to second part of the film was excellent in what it portrayed the murderers and the moral dilemmas that they experienced, the murderers, the white murderers of the Osage people, the people that were being murdered for their oil money. It still focused on the white murderers far more than it focused on the victims, the Osage people, the people that were being murdered. it needed to say more about them. More of the film needed to be focused on them. I wanted to hear more of their story and more of their background and less about the money-grubbing, murderous white people, although it was played very well, at least in that central portion of the film. And then there was a point at which the movie could just have ended. It was 10 minutes, I think, before the end of the film, in which, in a climatic scene, and I'm not going to give anything away, Lily Gladstone and her character, Molly, confronts Leonardo DiCaprio and his character, Ernest, about a terrible thing that he has been doing to her. And that would have been a wonderful place to end the film. But then there was this really wacky sort of coda to the film. You know how at the end of Psycho, the psychiatrist played by, I think it's Simon Oakland, comes in at the end and explains how everything happened, which to me is by far the most annoying part of that film. It's very mansplaining. And there was something sort of vaguely similar that happened here, except it wasn't just one guy explaining it. It was so strange, because you go from, it's depicting like the 1920s in Oklahoma, and then suddenly, and I am not making this up, you will see it, it shifts to the 1940s, and it's a radio show, and they're explaining what happened to all the characters afterwards. It's so bizarre, and it's so alienating. And there's a very there's a very cheesy appearance by the director Martin Scorsese himself, which does not help. And it is so bizarre, and it so takes you out of the moment that has been created by everything that has happened in the film so far. And then at the end, they have what I think is a moving shot above a traditional Native American dance, a Native American ceremony where they are gathered in a circle. That's an amazing ending. I think that maybe after the climatic moment of confrontation, they could have cut straight to the end. But, boy, that 3.5-hour film could have been 2.5 hours. It would have had the same amazing performances, and I think it could have had more about the Osage people, their background, and their characters, and not just the fact that they were murdered, poisoned, etc. So, that being said, go see it. It will draw your attention to a horrible period of our history that we know precious little about, and that's a positive thing. And there really are some stellar acting performances in it. I genuinely think that Lily Gladstone and Robert De Niro should receive Oscars for their performances in this film. Best director, not so much. Best film, not so much. But there's some really good acting in it. So for that, it's worthwhile. But plan your bathroom breaks in advance. Do not buy a large soda. Use the restroom before you enter the theater, shortly before you enter the theater, and do not bring a drink into the theater. Otherwise, you will create your own intermission, because there is not one. And for 3.5 hours, there should be. So, that is that. I'm going to come back in a moment, speaking of stealing oil money, and talk about an oil company, Shell Oil, and some interesting things that they've been doing that I think you should hear about. This is Facepalm America. I'm Beowulf Rockland. We shall return. Facepalm America. I'm Beowulf Rockland. FacepalmAmerica.com. Oil. It was the motivation for the murder of many Osage people, as we just discussed in the previous segment. And it is the impetus for more shenanigans as the climate responds to our use of fossil fuels. I just saw this in the news, and I think it's very interesting. You know those commercials that you see on TV where Exxon or Shell or whatever company it happens to be is basically saying, we've done these wonderful things for the environment. We've planted so many trees, and we're transitioning to a green economy. And you just think, oh, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that fantastic? And you realize at the back of your mind that it's all a lot of nonsense. That they're just paying money for a commercial to say they're doing a bunch of stuff, and they're really continuing to drill for oil and extract natural gas in the same ways that will be ultimately continuing to destroy our environment, destroy our climate, raise the temperature of the earth, and make it increasingly less habitable. Well, it turns out, if you thought that assumption was 100% correct. Yes, that's right. Because Shell, you know that oil company, Shell is planning to cut around 200 jobs at its low-carbon solutions division in 2024. Yes, they have a low-carbon solutions division. And it didn't mean much to them before, except as a PR maneuver. And clearly, it doesn't mean much to them now. It's a part of Shell's effort to simplify its business structure, according to them. Yeah, we want to keep it simple. We just want to keep screwing you over. That's the simplest thing. We won't lie to you about it. That's why we're cutting back on our lying division. We're going to stop lying, and we're going to keep screwing the earth and you. I'm from Shell. No, I'm not. I'm sure that's not what they really think. Right? In addition, 130 positions are under review. So, in other words, ultimately they're going to let 330 people who have been hired to spin for them go, which is sad for those individual people. Some of them might actually be convinced that Shell was trying to make an effort to do some positive things for the environment. Hopefully, this wakes them up. Hopefully, they will be able to find better jobs. Here's from the statement. We are transforming our low-carbon solutions business to strengthen its delivery on our core low-carbon business area, such as transport and industry. Blah, 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 blah. Means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. Shell's low-carbon solutions unit is largely made up of its business dealing with decarbonizing. How do they do that? How do they take away the carbon once they've put it out there?